Breaking news, President Trump taking questions. The president facing reporters for the first time since the election, saying he can't say if he'd concede, but if electors finalize Biden's win, he would leave the White House. Plus, President-elect Biden stressing safety while Trump encourages Americans to gather this holiday. New vaccine questions. The president tonight making the improbable claim a vaccine could be distributed next week. The FDA saying that's not true, while one of the top vaccine candidates will likely run additional tests amid concerns. Frontline workers saving lives amid astonishing new predictions about how many more might be lost before Christmas, with fears that travelers will deepen the crisis. Plus, reaction to a Supreme Court decision involving how many can worship together. To the rescue, the military's new mission stepping up to help hospitals out of rooms and resources in the heartland. The effort to feed families this Thanksgiving, long lines across the country, and a shocking new report, 1 in 6 without enough to eat. Black Friday's best deals in a shopping season like no other, the one simple thing you can do to get the best buys online. And thanking healthcare heroes, the outpouring of love and kindness bringing smiles this holiday.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and happy Thanksgiving. I'm Kate Snow in for Lester tonight, and we begin with late-breaking news. President Trump continuing to insist he won the election, taking questions for the first time since the election and saying he is not ready to concede. But the president also pledging to leave the White House if, as expected, the Electoral College formalizes Joe Biden's victory, a constitutional requirement. Let's get right to Kelly O'Donnell at the White House.
Tonight, defiant and denying his own defeat. President Trump answered questions for the first time since Election Day.
I don't know what is going to happen. I know one thing, Joe Biden did not get 80 million votes.
Asked if he will concede, more obstruction.
It's going to be a very hard thing to concede because we know there was massive fraud.
Pushed about whether he would vacate the White House January 20th if the electors finalize the Biden victory.
Certainly I will. Certainly I will.
The president's legal team has not shown fraud or irregularities that would overturn the results, but the president vented.
And the whole world is watching, and the whole world is laughing at our electoral process.
President Trump angry and lashing out minutes after he thanked overseas troops for their service. He criticized Joe Biden for forming a cabinet and would not publicly commit to attending the inauguration. Earlier today, Joe Biden followed a more traditional playbook. In a video message from Delaware, President-elect Joe Biden urged a small stay-at-home Thanksgiving because of COVID.
It's a personal sacrifice that each of our families can make and should make to save somebody else's life. But it's also a shared sacrifice for the whole country.
The president, who spent much of his holiday on the golf course, was also taking more swings on Twitter, again to impugn Joe Biden's victory and undermine election integrity. The president's anger boiled over at reporters.
Don't talk to, I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way.
And President Trump says he will go back on the campaign trail, committing to go to Georgia, where he will work on behalf of 2 Senate Republicans who are in runoff races that will determine the control of the Senate. The president also would not comment on whether he would run again himself in 2024, insisting that the 2020 race is not yet over, claiming he won with only hints of recognition that he knows his time here at the White House is nearly over. Kate?
Kelly O'Donnell at the White House for us. Kelly, thank you. The president tonight also made a dramatic claim about the timeline for the distribution of a COVID vaccine, which was immediately contradicted by the agencies in charge. It comes as a new prediction finds the U.S. death toll could climb by another 60,000 in just a month. Tom Costello's in Washington tonight. Tom, what are you learning?
Yeah, Kate, the president said late today that vaccine distribution could begin next week. But both the FDA and the CDC say nothing's changed on the timeline. The FDA Advisory Committee doesn't even meet until December 10th. Distribution could begin after that. But COVID has dominated Thanksgiving 2020.
4, 3, 2, 1, let's have a parade!
Made all the more poignant by a raging pandemic, today's Macy's parade reflected the country's appreciation for countless frontline heroes, many of whom remain on the job today, warning that this Thanksgiving could create multiple super spreader events that will soon flood ERs and ICUs.
We're asking for sacrifice. We're asking you to stay at home.
The COVID statistics are jaw-dropping this Thanksgiving. 2,000 more deaths, the most since July. The national death toll, a stunning 263,000. Despite the pandemic, Flight Radar 24 has captured the busiest air travel days since March. Roughly 1 million passengers a day since last Friday, even as health experts plead with Americans not to travel.
I'm a little worried, but I'm going home and to quarantine myself for 14 days. So my Thanksgiving dinner has been canceled.
But some travelers say they simply can't stay locked up inside their homes anymore.
COVID is out there. You just have to be cautious on how you deal with it.
Even more Americans choosing to drive this week.
If you've traveled recently or you're going to convene with somebody that you don't live with, mask in their presence to the extent possible. Try not to gather around one dinner table.
In Denver, Mayor Michael Hancock has ignited a furious backlash amid allegations of hypocrisy. For weeks, he's encouraged people not to travel.
I'm asking, I'm urging, I'm pleading with everyone. Please stay home.
Even tweeting that message on Wednesday, just before he boarded a flight to Mississippi for Thanksgiving with his wife and daughter.
He told us we should not be seeing our family and should not be traveling for Thanksgiving, and then he goes behind our backs.
The mayor now apologizing, saying, "I humbly ask you to forgive decisions that are born of my heart and not my head." Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has opened the door to more mass gatherings after ruling New York's temporary ban on religious services is unconstitutional. Also tonight, AstraZeneca, the drug maker, is admitting mistakes in its drug trials for a COVID vaccine. Essentially, some volunteers got a dose that was too low, not intended to be that low. So now the company still says its vaccine is up to 90% effective, but the CEO now concedes they may have to have yet an additional trial. Kate?
Tom Costello, thanks. And let's get right to Dr. John Torres. Dr. John, what do you make of these new questions surrounding AstraZeneca and their vaccine?
Kate, this shows us that the vaccine vetting process is actually working. So what you're seeing here are the vaccine manufacturers being held accountable by outside experts, making sure all the information about the trials is released and asking the hard questions about who it's been tested on and what the specific outcomes were. The more scrutiny the manufacturers and their vaccines undergo now, the more confidence and trust we can have that any approved vaccine will be both safe and effective. Kate?
Dr. John, thank you. This is a Thanksgiving like none other for healthcare workers, so many sacrificing their own holiday to help others. And as hospitals reach their breaking point, some patients are finding a lot to be thankful for. Gabe Gutierrez has more on that.
Tonight in hospitals across America, no break from the virus, but a flood of gratitude for those on the front lines.
I was finally discharged after 44 days. I am thankful to all the staff, nurses, PAs, and doctors who took care of me and made sure that I came home to my family.
I'm grateful for the new lease on life that I've received. COVID destroyed my lungs, and I was able to receive 2 new lungs in a transplant.
And as hospitals face staffing shortages this holiday season, there's more relief on the way.
Did you ever think you'd end up here in North Dakota?
Absolutely not. This is unforeseen.
This Thanksgiving, Captain Ron Golumbowski is among the Air Force nurses working in the COVID ICU at this hospital in Bismarck, North Dakota. He served multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, another kind of war.
It's always hard, but as members of the Department of Defense, we're tasked to fight all enemies, and that's whoever and wherever they may be, including this virus.
North Dakota's positivity rate is 11%, nearly 3 times what it was 3 months ago.
It takes 2 to 3 hours for local health officials to go through about 1,000 tests here. They do it each week, and right now it's taking 5 to 7 days to get results.
Air Force medical teams had previously been deployed to California and Texas.
The most rewarding part about being a nurse is seeing that patient walk out of the hospital.
On this holiday, Second Lieutenant Kathleen Alejandro is spending time away from her husband in Florida.
Day in and day out, we start seeing the severity and the news, of course, and everything going on in our nation. just proud to be here to be able to answer that call.
Here are your gloves, and they will fit in there.
A deployment that's expected to last at least a month. No small sacrifice in a year where every day counts. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, Bismarck, North Dakota.
And while so many are counting their blessings, a simple hot meal is increasingly out of reach for tens of millions of Americans. Morgan Chesky reports.
Hi. Happy Thanksgiving.
On a Thanksgiving made tougher by keeping many families apart, those who made it here faced a more pressing need.
This year, I mean, we've been holiday level busy since March.
Nationwide, 54 million Americans don't have access to sufficient food. In Texas, the long lines tell a story not lost on fifth grader Orion Jean, who organized a campaign to donate 100,000 meals by Thanksgiving.
Looking at all of the people that don't have jobs or don't have access to things like food and clothes and all of these essential things that we sometimes take for granted on Thanksgiving Day. Really sad, because one of the most memorable parts about Thanksgiving is the Thanksgiving meal. So knowing that I can help in just the smallest way makes me want to.
At the Christian Center of Fort Worth, a negative COVID test came before anyone could help hand out food.
How does it feel to be able to give back to these folks?
I feel honored. I feel blessed that I'm able to give back to them.
Blessings went both ways. Parrish Jarningan lost his job to the pandemic.
Parrish, if you didn't have a place like this today,
I wouldn't know where I'd be. I'm just being honest.
Down the road, Orion hasn't hit his 100,000 meal goal yet, but says the mission is about more than food.
Kindness matters, and it's what we need the most right now. So go spread an act of kindness. It can make the world a better place.
Amen.
Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, thank you.
Morgan Chesky, NBC News, Dallas.
With millions out of work, it could take decades for an economic rebound, with some jobs disappearing altogether. Jake Ward has more.
Just up the road from where she grew up in San Francisco, Karen McDonald owns Studio Red's hair salon.
I've been doing this for 35 years, but I was going to be a nurse. I worked for doctors.
So you're someone who likes being with people.
Service, yeah.
But the service industry is hurting right now. According to job site Glassdoor, openings for chefs are down 56%, valets 51%, and stylists like McDonald 50%. Business is less than half what it was last year, and yet McDonald also has to pay for protective gear and plexiglass.
With losing half of my tickets, you know, no retail, whatever, just a ballpark estimate, I mean, I've got to be down at least 15, 20, 25 in the whole.
Healthcare jobs have suffered, especially audiologists and opticians. These Bay Area massage therapists were hit hard.
I'm on the phone negotiating with landlords, with car payments, with, okay, you know, back to my college days. Let's do that budget. What do we really need to eat?
The pandemic is wiping out academic positions, too. The question is whether we can come back from this.
What I'm afraid of is today, with big job losses in leisure and hospitality, retail and low-skilled services, that many Americans will just leave the labor force completely.
Glassdoor has found increased job openings in hospitals and warehouses, but the long-term solution may be education and training programs, because skilled work is plentiful. As for McDonald, she is not giving up yet.
But if it continues for another year, I mean, it's not a business, it's a hobby.
Jake Ward, NBC News, San Francisco.
Now to the search for solutions and what one famous British city is doing to get its COVID outbreak under control. Could it work here? Willem Marks reports.
Tonight, a new kind of urban warfare. Thousands of British troops in a major city hit hard by COVID.
When we personally see that people have lost family members to COVID and they explain to us why they're there getting tested, it does hit home a little bit.
In addition to a second lockdown that's emptied the streets of Liverpool, birthplace to the Beatles, officials have sent in soldiers with enough COVID tests to offer them to every citizen every 5 days. Even setting up testing stations in this soccer stadium.
I'm going to hand you a swab.
Emily Wang getting her results in just 20 minutes.
So my test result was negative, so that's good news.
The mayor hopes this pilot program of rapid citywide testing will radically reduce the infection rate.
I want it to work. We need it to work so that we can protect people's lives, but also protect the livelihoods of people as well.
The British government's committed tens of billions of dollars to what it calls a moonshot testing strategy. The Liverpool experiment, part of that effort. And epidemiologists say this approach could be copied in COVID hotspots in the US.
When there are areas with a large proportion of people infected, then we can actually implement those type of things.
But all of this is incredibly expensive. British government plans to expand this effort to other cities comes with a price tag that one scientist told me was eye-popping. Kate?
We're back in 60 seconds with the best Black Friday deals and the one thing you can do to save more online. We're back with the price you pay. Black Friday has already begun virtually with online sales expected to surge. We've got the surprisingly simple thing you can do to save big this year. Here's Vicki Nguyen.
A crush of bargain hunters scrambling, a sight all too common on Black Friday, but not this year. Competing for your clicks earlier than ever, stores now offering Black Friday sales all month long during Cyber November and some online-only deals, too. Black Friday 2020 will see record online shopping traffic with nearly 70% of shoppers saying the recent surge in COVID cases has prompted them to purchase more from home. A third say they'll complete their holiday shopping online by Black Friday.
A great way to maximize your savings is to install at least one browser extension because they help you save.
Think of it as a free tool on your computer that's constantly searching for coupons and discounts on items you're shopping for. And often you can layer the deals on top of store sales. Some extensions search for coupons, others alert you to cash back on your purchases.
Browser extensions are a great way to compound your savings opportunities as you're shopping.
When you find an extension you want to try, just download it to your computer. Then shop like you normally would. When it's time to check out, the extension will alert you to additional discounts. Make a list of what you want. While you may not have to wait in Black Friday lines, popular gifts can still sell out fast, with millions more poised to point and click this holiday. Vicki Nguyen, NBC News.
Still to come, the surprise phone call from a young artist's hero. Now to the call of a lifetime for a 14-year-old artist in California. After Tyler Gordon's portrait of Vice President-elect Kamala Harris went viral, he got a surprise phone call from Harris herself.
You know, it's a very special thing to be an artist like you are. It's a gift you give so many people. People you'll never meet are going to be touched by the work you do.
Tyler, who is partially hearing impaired and has a stutter, said he painted Harris because she broke barriers the same way he does every day. That teen was from near Harris's hometown of Oakland, California, but she also has ties overseas, as does President-elect Joe Biden. With more, here's Keir Simmons.
Irish eyes are smiling tonight. In Ireland, President-elect Biden is known simply as Cousin Joe. One of those cousins, Joe Blewett, is a plumber. His campaign slogan, Joe Biden for the White House, Joe Blewett for your house.
It will be lovely there to be there to mark the inauguration in January.
And Cousin Joe has never forgotten where his ancestors came from.
During the terrible potato famine, my great-great-great-grandfather got on a ship in 1842.
What a journey. As the President-elect's favourite Irish poet says, sometimes hope and history rhyme.
He has an appreciation for immigrants, of people who have had to leave their country in search of a better life.
Joe Biden will join a long list of Irish-American presidents, 23 from this one Emerald Isle. Kamala Harris is the first black and Asian-American vice president.
My mother, Shamala Gopalan Harris, who is always in our hearts. When she came here from India at the age of 19.
Over the years, she's been home to visit her ancestral village, 8,000 miles from Washington.
I knew that they were going to win.
Immigrants from around the world, helping shape the future president and vice president. Now that's the American dream. Keir Simmons, NBC News, London.
When we come back, serving up gratitude to frontline heroes. Before we go this Thanksgiving night, a special tribute to the inspiring frontline healthcare workers away from their own homes today so they can take care of our loved ones. Here's Blaine Alexander.
There's no question this is not the Thanksgiving we are used to. But what remains? Gratitude. And this year for our healthcare workers, it comes in droves.
Thank you so much for bringing us.
It's the home-cooked meal from one ICU worker to the next.
Looking at what are the little simple contributions we can make to bring joy to people, to make it seem a little bit more normal, to make it seem familiar, and just to take a little of that stress off.
It's the New Mexico Cafe, still reeling from its own COVID hit and forced layoffs, now spending the day making hot meals for those on the front lines.
I wish we could do more. I wish I could do everything for them and give them a hot meal every day.
It's the thank you letters reminding nurses in South Dakota just how much they are appreciated, written by the students following in their footsteps. You are such role models. You are the heroes of our generation.
I think we just have to look for the bright moments and the times of caring and giving. We will get through this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And hopefully these small little acts will let people know that they're cared about.
A reminder, perhaps when we need it the most, there are still reasons to give thanks. Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
A huge thank you to all of our frontline heroes. Lester Holt will be back with you tomorrow. I'm Kate Snow. For all of us here at NBC News, stay safe and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.